Hello, this is Savika Sayyad and welcome to the print headlines. Kejriwal writes to Prime Minister, seeks meeting over E20 petrol, demands pure petrol option at fuel stations. Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal today sought an appointment with Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss concerns over E20 petrol, requesting that options for pure and E20 petrol be made available at fuel stations with lower prices for ethanol blended petrol. In a letter to the PM, Kejriwal said he wanted to explain the technical issues and the feedback he has received from people related to the matter during his proposed meeting. Cockroach Janata Party protest enters day 25. Wangchuk's health worsens as fast enters 17th day. Activist Sonam Wangchuk's health worsened today as his indefinite hunger strike entered its 17th day today. Cockroach Janata Party founder Abhijit Dipke said in a post on X that Wangchuk has started losing muscle mass and is in immense pain. Dipke added, and I quote, "Like everyone else, I begged him to end his fast. He calmly replied, 'Don't ask me to end my fast. Ask the government why they won't even have a dialogue.'" A group of eminent citizens, including writer Arundhati Roy, actors Nasiruddin Shah and Ratna Pathak Shah, and economist Jayati Ghosh, appealed to protesters on an indefinite hunger strike at Delhi's Jantar Mantar to call off their fast while extending full support to their demand for Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. Man accused in 2020 sacrilege case beheaded in Punjab. A 45-year-old man accused in 2020 sacrilege case and who was released on bail recently was allegedly hacked to death with a sharp-edged weapon, police said today. Meva Singh was murdered by an unidentified assailant at his home in Ladpur Turan village near Mandi Gobindgarh at midnight. In the Madhya Pradesh Bhojshala complex case, Supreme Court suggests temporary prayer space for Muslims until case is decided. The Supreme Court issued notice today on appeals filed by Muslim parties concerning the Bhojshala Temple Kamal Maula Mosque complex dispute in Madhya Pradesh. However, the court refused to pass any interim order of status quo. A three-judge bench headed by Chief Justice of India Suryakant said an open area or space adjacent to the disputed premises could be identified for the offering of namaz on Fridays between 1 pm and 3 pm as an ad hoc measure till the case is decided by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court directed that the Archaeological Survey of India would not make any structural alterations to the disputed structure without leave of the apex court. Supreme Court refuses to revoke Lalu Prasad Yadav's bail in fodder scam cases. The Supreme Court today refused to revoke the bail granted to RJD President Lalu Prasad Yadav in the fodder scam cases, observing that it would not be appropriate to interfere with his liberty after 6 years. However, the court directed the Jharkhand High Court to decide the pending criminal appeals against the suspension of his sentence expeditiously, preferably within 6 months. In the Kerala actor assault case, High Court rejects prime accused Sunil's plea to suspend jail term. The Kerala High Court today rejected the plea for suspension of sentence by NS Sunil, aka Pulsar Suni, the first accused in the actor assault case of 2017. A division bench of Justice Raja Vijay Raghavan and KV Jayakumar held that the finding of the Ernakulam Sessions Court was reasonable and that there were no grounds to justify the suspension of the petitioner's sentence. The court considered the nature of the offence, the manner of commission, the seriousness of the crime, the sentence imposed by the Sessions Court, and the criminal history of the accused in 11 crimes. It also assessed his alleged involvement in another criminal case while he was on bail in this case and the violation of the conditions of bail imposed by the court while deciding on the suspension of his sentence. Delhi High Court protects cricketer Abhishek Sharma's personality rights, orders removal of AI-generated fake content. The Delhi High Court has granted interim protection to Indian cricketer Abhishek Sharma against the unauthorized use of his name, image and likeness, restraining social media accounts and online sellers from exploiting his personality through AI-generated content, deepfakes and unauthorized merchandise. Justice Jyoti Singh, in an order passed on July 9, held that Sharma had established a prima facie case for protection of his personality and publicity rights. MEA says India supports UN membership for Palestine. India has backed Palestine's bid for United Nations membership and reaffirmed its support for a two-state solution. New Delhi's position on Palestine was apprised by Sri Priya Ranganathan, a secretary at the External Affairs Ministry, during a ministerial meeting of the Palestine Donor Group held in Brussels yesterday. NIA court issues non-bailable warrant against LET founder Hafiz Saeed. A special NIA court has issued a non-bailable warrant against Hafiz Saeed, the Pakistan-based chief of the proscribed terror outfit Lashkar-e-Toiba, in connection with a case pertaining to the ongoing probe into the Pahalgam terror attack. The order was passed by the special judge of the NIA court on July 8, 2 days after the NIA filed a supplementary charge sheet against Saeed in the Pahalgam terror attack case. One Indian sailor killed, 6 wounded as Iranian missiles strike oil tankers in Strait of Hormuz. One Indian crew member was killed and 8 others were wounded when 2 Emirati oil tankers were struck by Iranian cruise missiles in the Strait of Hormuz, the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Defense said today, in the latest escalation in the strategic waterway. The ministry said the tankers, the Mombasa and the Al Bahia, were targeted in the southern lane of the strait while in Omani territorial waters. The dead crew member was aboard the Mombasa. India summons Iran envoy after Indian sailor dies in Hormuz attacks. India has lodged a protest with Iran over the attack on Indian seafarers in Hormuz. Iran's deputy chief of mission has been summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs. India summoned Iranian Deputy Chief of Mission Mohammad Javed Hosseini today following an Iranian missile strike on 2 UAE-flagged oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, which killed 1 Indian national and injured several others. Hosseini was seen leaving the MEA headquarters in New Delhi after meeting officials. US strikes Iran for third day, says will reimpose blockade. The United States launched a third night of strikes on Iran as President Donald Trump planned to reimpose a blockade today on Iranian ports and floated a 20% fee on cargo in the vital Strait of Hormuz. President Trump said a deal with Tehran was still possible even as attacks were carried out, with Iran striking 2 ships in the strategic waterway and killing 1 crew member, according to UAE. US announces 20% toll on ships using Hormuz. US President Donald Trump has said the United States was reinstating a blockade on Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, and in a move that appeared to mark a shift in policy, would also charge other vessels for safe passage. Donald Trump said the United States would be reimbursed through a levy amounting to 20% of the value of cargo passing through the waterway. The announcement followed an Iranian attack on a container vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran MPs present bill on Strait of Hormuz. Iran's parliament has begun work on a bill on the Strait of Hormuz, the head of the Security Committee said today, as fighting flared between Washington and Tehran over the strategic waterway. Ibrahim Azizi wrote on X, and I quote, "Last night, coinciding with the downing of US drones, the Strategic Action for the Security and Sustainable Progress of the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf bill was formally introduced in Iran's parliament." US-Iran fighting reignited last week over disagreements on how the vital strait would be managed. Lebanon and Israel hold talks in Rome. Lebanon and Israel are holding new negotiations under US auspices in Rome today against the backdrop of a regional escalation between Washington and Tehran. According to a Lebanese diplomatic source familiar, the Lebanese army is ready to gradually take control of the localities from which the Israeli army would withdraw. Polish PM says peace in Ukraine unlikely to be reached soon. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said today it seemed very unlikely that peace in Ukraine would be reached soon, and he expected Russia to extend the conflict at least until the winter. 2 arrested as firefighters battled Fontainebleau forest fire near Paris. Firefighters battled through the night to tackle a blaze that tore through a historic forest near Paris today, with at least 2 people arrested on suspicion of having started the fire near one of France's best-known royal palaces. Alia Bhatt joins Soham Shah's Tumbar 2. Actor Alia Bhatt has joined Soham Shah's Tumbar 2, the makers announced today. Directed by Adesh Prasad, the sequel to the 2018 acclaimed horror film also stars Nawazuddin Siddiqui in a pivotal role. Sindhu sails into second round, Dhruv Tanisha to progress in Japan Open. 2-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu registered a straight game win over Malaysia's Wong Li Ching to progress to the women's singles second round at the Japan Open Super 750 badminton tournament in Tokyo today. World number 10 Sindhu, a 2019 world champion, produced a compact performance to notch up a 21-14, 21-11 win over Wong, ranked world number 37 in the opening round. FIFA's top 4 teams make World Cup semi-finals. Over the last week, the round of 16 stage in the FIFA World Cup 2026 competition came to an end, leaving 8 teams in the game. Prominent football countries like Brazil, Portugal and Mexico were eliminated along with the US, Egypt and Colombia. The quarter-final stage followed, eliminating Norway, Belgium, Morocco and Switzerland. France and Spain are set to open the semi-finals in Dallas on Tuesday before Argentina face England in Atlanta a day later. That's all we have for you today. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest.